Hello, everybody. You're listening to the Mike Hogan Show on CPL Radio. This is recorded on Saturday, November 7th, 2020, a glorious day in the United States as they project Joe Biden will be the next president of the United States. So congratulations to him, of course. Can't go without mentioning that. But let's just get right into it here. This is going to be a little bit of a different episode today. I have something on my chest that I really want to talk about from a fan's perspective. Not even just I'm not going to approach this as somebody who writes and talks about sports often. That's what I want to do for a living. I want to approach this from a fan's perspective. And if you know me, you know I'm a big Michigan football fan, and I've had enough. I have had enough of the losing and the embarrassing performances time and time again. So we're going to talk about Jim Harbaugh today for a little bit, and then we're going to look at some NFL games to keep an eye out for this weekend, and then we'll get you on your way. So to start off the show, we're going to talk about Jim Harbaugh. Another embarrassing loss for him today. Just predictable at this point that he's just going to be embarrassed every week at this point. Michigan football is miserable. They got beat by Indiana today for the first time in 33 years. First time since 1987. Congratulations to Indiana. They are the next in line here, or they're up. They were the next team to embarrass Jim Harbaugh in his overrated, all the poor adjectives to describe Michigan football's program. Overrated is the best one. It's just embarrassing. They went and got embarrassed today. Indiana beat them 38-21, a week after Michigan State, who, by the way, got beat by an Iowa team today, 49-7. So Michigan State got beat today, but they beat Michigan last week. So 2 losses in a row for Michigan to 2 pretty, mediocre teams at best. It's been embarrassing to be a Michigan fan, and quite frankly, I might be done watching them this season. They still got to play Wisconsin next week. They'll probably lose that one. They'll get beat by Penn State too. They'll probably lose to Ohio State. I've reached a point where here's where I am as a Michigan fan. We're at the crossroads here. If they don't get rid of Jim Harbaugh and find another coach, I'm done. I'm not going to watch until that happens. I'm so sick of Jim Harbaugh, and I'll list the reasons why. And it's just angering at this point to watch Michigan football continue to be a national punching bag. Every time they lose, it really is. It's embarrassing to be a Michigan fan because Harbaugh was hired a couple years ago. It was a big frenzy, a big party when Harbaugh got hired in Ann Arbor. Everybody was freaking out about it. It was a cute story. I was excited about it. I was really excited about what he could potentially do. A guy who's had success at every level of coaching. College, at Stanford, everywhere he's been in college, he's won. In the NFL, he had that great success with the San Francisco 49ers. He took them to the playoffs. He took them to the Super Bowl. He did this and that, accomplished this and that. Seemed to be a quarterback whisperer. Had Colin Kaepernick playing at elite level. Alex Smith played well under Harbaugh. So much was exciting about it. Harbaugh was coming back to his alma mater, where he played quarterback, Michigan. His family has ties there. His father was on the coaching staff back in the day. It was an exciting, cute story. It was a frenzy in Ann Arbor. Everybody was making some predictions. Oh, Michigan's going to do this and that, and they're going to go to the playoffs, and they're going to go to the national championship game. They're going to take control of the rivalry against Ohio State. They're going to do, and it's just going to be amazing, wonderful. Michigan's going to be a force. And right from the get-go, if you think back to Jim Harbaugh's first game against Utah, you can draw the line way back to 2015. We should have all known it was going to be a disappointment then, when they had a chance to beat a very good Utah team in that first game of his tenure at Michigan, and they laid an egg. They lost a heartbreaker, and that's just been the theme. The embarrassing, head scratching, and angering losses just started right off the gate. It continued that year with Michigan State, that fumble that everybody likes to make fun of, the dropping the snap. That was a fluke loss. Michigan should have never lost that game. But that's another defining factor in Harbaugh's book. It continues on and on. They lose to Ohio State. They've lost a couple more times to Michigan State since 2015. Penn State they've had trouble with at times. They have same thing with Wisconsin. They've kind of gone back and forth with them over the years. And Notre Dame they've split with whatever. Harbaugh's won about 10 games a year. Yeah, Michigan's making bowl games, this and that. They are. Michigan's not a bad football program. They're good. They're decent. They're overrated. They are not a powerhouse. They're not a college football playoff contender every season. They haven't beaten Ohio State. They have only won one bowl game, and by the way, that was in 2016 or whatever it was, Harbaugh's first season. It is time to do something else. It's time to move on. You can't tell me anymore, after the last 2 weeks, after watching this unprepared efforts every week, 2 weeks now, you cannot tell me that there's somebody better. There's not somebody better out there than Harbaugh. That's what I'm sick of with this fan base, is that everybody thinks that, oh, well, who else are we going to get? Who else is going to come coach her? Who's better than Harbaugh? Who's better than Harbaugh? Tell me. That's where this fan base is, and that's not what it should be. Michigan fans were promised a lot, and we expected a lot out of this era of Michigan football. We expected it to be different, and it hasn't really been different. Michigan football fans should be angry. They should be upset because we don't deserve this. We deserve more than this crap, this unprepared football, the excuses every week. It seems like we deserve a coach who's going to want to beat Ohio State. That's another thing I have a bone to pick with Harbaugh, is that he almost acts like every year that. While Ohio State's always talking about Michigan, they're always talking about that game and always keeping an eye on us. They're always doing this and that, saying this and that about Michigan. Michigan doesn't. They don't care about the rivalry. They don't take it as seriously. They're all like that with all their rivalry games. Michigan doesn't take their rivalry seriously. They disregard it every year and have this game-by-game approach. Well, yeah, you can have that, but you should always be obsessed with Ohio State, and it's almost, it almost should be a sick obsession. To want to beat them and to always want to keep an eye on them like they do to us, and we don't have it. There's no passion there. There's no heart there. There's no will there. Harbaugh is an uninspired coach. He's old. His crap is old. He's got to pack his bags and get out of town. His defense sucks. He hasn't been able to find a quarterback yet. All the quarterbacks he's had have been pretty much lousy, underperformers, not very good, could be better. His defenses, they play pretty good here and there. They'll look pretty good against a Purdue, but then they'll go up against Ohio State and get blown out of the water just like they did today in Bloomington when their quarterback, was running all over us, and our offense couldn't get anything going. And you know what? It's just time to move on. It's time to accept it as a Michigan fan that this isn't working, and Michigan needs something else. I don't care who that coach is. Anybody of Harbaugh's staff, somebody that's a competent football coach can do a similar job to this than what Harbaugh's done, if not better. Somebody's out there right now, and one guy, I want to see Michigan go after and kick the tires on once they finally make, and I think they will. I think they are absolutely going to move on from Harbaugh. I think, he's got that big contract, that is, they're talking about maybe. There a few years ago, everybody was saying, "Oh, let's give him a lifetime contract." Are you glad we didn't do that now? I think one guy they should look at is Luke Fickell with Cincinnati. The Cincinnati Bearcats are ranked number 6 in the nation right now. Luke Fickell's an Ohio State guy. He was on their staff there. He was actually, I believe, he was their interim head coach when that whole Jim Tressel thing happened a number of years ago when. Right before the Buckeyes had signed, he was on Ohio State's coaching staff, 1999. He went to Akron in 2002, 2001, came back to Ohio State, was there until 2016, went to Cincinnati in 2017, and he's there now, and he's got those Bearcats playing unbelievable football right now. They're number 6 in the nation. They're playing right now. I'm actually kind of watching the game as I rant on and on and on here about how bad Jim Harbaugh is at his job. He was their interim coach right before they hired Urban Meyer back in 2011. So yeah, I think Luke Fickell's the guy that they should want. The guy's coaching at Cincinnati. Michigan can give him a lot more money than what Cincinnati's paid him. That's obvious. And it's a big-time job. Not to say that Cincinnati isn't, but it's a big-time job in the Big Ten. Luke Fickell knows Ohio State. He's been there. He's been on the other side of the rivalry. He's coached against Michigan for a number of years, and he knows that rivalry. We need someone like that. And not to mention, he played in the National Football League, and he has all this experience, and he played for the Buckeyes as well. He played for the Buckeyes, he coached for the Buckeyes, he knows what it's like on the other side, and that's what Michigan needs right now. I think that's what they need more than anything. And Harbaugh, obviously, he's played in Ohio State games. He's coached against Ohio State. He knows what the rivalry means, but he doesn't take it seriously. In my opinion, when you take the job at Michigan, when you step foot in Schembechler Hall and you get there, your first thing on your mind it should always be Ohio State when you take that job. How am I going to beat Ohio State? What are they doing in terms of recruiting? What are they saying about us? What should I be saying about them? What can I do every week to prepare my team for that game at the end of November against Ohio State, or in this year's case, the end in mid-December. If the season makes it that far, and I almost hope that it doesn't at this point. I don't want to see Michigan get blown out by and Ryan, their coach, Coach Day with Ohio State, said that they're gonna try to hang 100 on Michigan this year in the offseason, after Harbaugh publicly criticized him about breaking some sort of protocol or precaution in practice or something like that. And then Day responded to that by saying he's going to hang 100 on Michigan. And I honestly think they could. I don't want to see them hit the field against Chile this year because it's just straight up embarrassing at this point. But the guy I want Michigan to hire is Luke Fickell. I think the guy's an unbelievable football coach. I think he's a rising star head coach. I think he'll eventually get to the NFL if he wants to go that way. But I think he's the perfect guy. He should be the number one guy on Michigan's list. Any fan, Ward Manuel, I hope you're listening to me, man. I think this is your guy. I think this is your guy that can come in, not only turn it around right away, but I think he can accomplish some goals that Harbaugh had and never reached. And I think it could be immediate success. Because it's not like Michigan has bad players. They get good recruits. They do have some talent on that football team. But it's not working for Jim Harbaugh, and hopefully it works for somebody else. And I think Fickell's the guy they got to go after. If they don't get rid of Harbaugh, like I said, I'm not going to watch him anymore until something changes. It's just so darn disappointing. I'm so sick of it. I'm embarrassed every week. And I know there's bigger things to be worrying about, but in this world right now. But it is angering to see this continue. Just the constant failures and letdowns from this program. I've had enough. I can tell that most of the other fans have probably had enough as well. I think my brother, who's been a loyal Harbaugh guy, and give credit to him, I can't believe somebody's been able to stick with him for this long, has finally reached the tipping point as well. I think the fan base collectively realizes that it's time to move on. So end of my rant, but let's move on to some NFL talk. We are approaching the more than midway through the NFL season. There's been some bumps in the road. There's been some stoppages and issues with COVID and rescheduling and this and that here and there. But overall, it's been nice to have football every week. We never thought that, and you just got to enjoy it. You just got to enjoy every second of it because you probably never thought that the season would make it this far, and that's just been awesome to have something every week to look forward to. And in a time like this, it's always been football for me this year that I've been able to fall back on this fall. And we have a good slate of games this week, a lot of important matchups. We got the Broncos and the Falcons. That's kind of an underwhelming one there, but the Broncos are starting to play better football. They've been playing better lately. They've won some games. They're kind of in that wild card race right now. So that'll be an interesting one to watch. We'll go through and make picks after I kind of break down the matchups real quickly. Seahawks and Bills. My Buffalo Bills, that's going to be a tough game for them. Matt Milano, there's one of their starters, in the middle, and linebackers, one of their star linebackers. He is out They placed him on injured reserve today, so that's disappointing. The Bills' defense has been sorry this year for most of the season. The Seahawks have the best offense in the league. The Bills' offense is pretty good as well. This one could be a shootout. It's just really going to depend on, I think, whose defense can make one or two more stops. The Ravens and the Colts, important game for Indianapolis. They're trailing Tennessee. There's a big game after this week, and we'll talk about it soon. The Colts are trailing the Titans for the lead of the division. They're 5-2. They're playing the Ravens. That should be a good one there. That's in Indianapolis. The Ravens and the Colts always kind of a rivalry game because of the old Baltimore Colts deal and that whole thing way back in the day. Always interesting matchup. Texans and Jaguars, not much to say there. Both teams are miserable. 1-6 record. This game could have implications on the NFL draft. Who's going to pick toward the top? Who's going to maybe fall back a few for winning a couple too many games? The Panthers and Chiefs. The Chiefs, of course, 7-1, playing great football. The Panthers. This could be an interesting one. I think the Panthers can beat the Chiefs, but I think Kansas City should have no problem there. Lions and Vikings. This is actually interesting because Detroit's been playing better. The Vikings have actually been playing a lot better than the record says at 2-5. This could one of these two teams could, if they win this game, go on to be a serious contender in the wild card race. I think the loser of this game ultimately has no chance at the playoffs. So that's kind of a make or break one there in Minnesota tomorrow. The Bears and the Titans, both teams have lost back-to-back games. The Bears coming off a loss on Sunday to the Saints in overtime. The Titans coming off an ugly one against the Cincinnati Bengals. They got beat up there. Their defense got destroyed by Joe Burrow. They made a trade this week for Desmond King, a defensive back from the Los Angeles Chargers. Hopefully he can help the Titans out. I think he will. The Titans should be getting Adoree Jackson back as well. So that'll be a boost for them. The Titans, man, their defense has got to start playing better, but I think their offense might have to carry them here throughout the rest of the year. Another game here that could have some implications on the draft more than anything. The Giants and the Washington football team. Giants 1-7, Washington 2-5. Not much to write home about that matchup. The Chargers and the Raiders. Man, those poor Chargers. They've lost so many games this year after being up by double digits. They lost another heartbreaker last week, and that's just been a disaster there for them. They're a good football team until the fourth quarter of the second half when they blow their lead. A lot better than what the record says, but the Raiders are 4-3 in the well into that wild card race with the Miami Dolphins, who are playing the Arizona Cardinals at 5-2. This is an intriguing matchup. The Dolphins. A little bit disappointed last week after seeing Tua Tagovailoa only throw for 94 yards or something like that. The Dolphins' victory over the Rams. I guess it got the job done nonetheless. The Dolphins and Cardinals, that should be an interesting one. The Dolphins are trailing the Bills in that race for the division, so that should be important. Every game's important for Miami at this point. But if they don't catch the Bills for the AFC East, then they definitely are in that wild card race. And next we go to Steelers and the Cowboys. Steelers 7-0. Cowboys are a disaster under Mike McCarthy, the new head coach down there, former Packers head coach for a number of years. The Steelers 7-0. It's time to start talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers as a maybe undefeated, maybe can go 16-0. They've been beating everybody in their way. They had a tough win against the Baltimore Ravens last week. On the road, beat them in overtime, I believe. That was a good one there. The Steelers, let's just take a look at their schedule real quick and see, how likely it is they might be able to go 16-0. And then they should have no problem with the Dallas Cowboys this week. They got Cincinnati. Oh man, they have a realistic shot at this. They have a lot of winnable games left on their schedule. They have the Cowboys tomorrow, Bengals. They play the Bengals twice. They play the Jaguars. They play the Ravens, which is a tough one. Washington should be an fairly simple game there. It's a good year to have the NFC North as your NFC opponent. All those teams are miserable this year. including the Eagles, who are going to win that division with a losing record. The Steelers and the Bills, that could be a tough game for Pittsburgh. Buffalo is a pretty good football team. The Browns, I could see giving them trouble, but the Steelers overall have a very, very realistic chance to go 16-0. The toughest games on their schedule are Baltimore and Buffalo. The Jaguars should be no issue. Washington, Cleveland, and the Colts shouldn't really be a problem either. This is going to be interesting for them, and something that we all have to start keeping an eye on, taking seriously. The Saints and the Buccaneers. This one could pretty much decide the NFC South. The Saints at 5-2, the Buccaneers at 6-2. Breeze versus Brady Part 2. The Saints beat the Buccaneers earlier this season in Week 1. This one has huge implications for the playoffs. If the Saints win again, the Buccaneers might not be able to win the division. And then finally, Monday night, Patriots and Jets. Not much to say about that. The Patriots look to be over. That looks to be over in New England. Their dynasty looks to be heading in the wrong direction. It looks to be crumbling now. That 2-5 looks like they're maybe playing for draft position as well. And without Brady, they went with Cam Newton this year, who hasn't played very well. The Jets 0-8. They're going to be firing their head coach Adam Gase at the end of this year probably, and then looking for another head coach again. Jets, terrible team. Let's go through and make some picks here. Oh, and I forgot to mention, yes, the Packers, of course, did beat the 49ers 34-7 on Thursday night. Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, thank you very much for those fantasy points and got me off to a nice start in a must-win week for me. We'll break down the matchups. We'll make some picks. I'll maybe give you a little fantasy advice if you don't mind before we close it up for the week here. I'm going to take the Falcons over the Broncos. I like the Falcons in that one for some reason. Another team that has lost a lot of disappointing games this season. A lot better than the record. I think Julio Jones and company will go down there and beat the Broncos. The Bills and the Seahawks. I'm going to take the Seahawks in this one. Should be a close game in Buffalo. It'll be nice weather, unusually warm up there in Buffalo for November, but I think the Seahawks are going to win that one. The Bills' defense doesn't have enough to make stops. Their offense isn't as good as Seattle's, so therefore Seattle's going to win the game. The Ravens and the Colts, I'm going to take the Colts in this one just because I'm playing devil's advocate for the Colts' big matchup against the Tennessee Titans next Thursday night. That one could pretty much have some huge implications on the AFC South division race. Texans and Jaguars, I'll take the Texans. The Jaguars and the Texans are both bad, but the Texans still have a better quarterback and better players overall than the Jaguars do. Panthers and Chiefs. The Chiefs, obviously, picking up steam here. They're going to win the game. There, I'm Vikings and Lions. Matt Stafford got released from the COVID-19 reserve list today, so he will be starting for the Lions tomorrow. I'm going to go with the Lions in this one. Although the Vikings are playing better football lately, I think I'd like to see the Lions get some momentum going. I think they could be a contender for the wild card. I like the Lions in that one. Bears and Titans. I like the Tennessee Titans in this one. 2-game losing streak. They're a really good football team. Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry on offense. A.J. Brown has also been really solid since returning from injury. I like the Titans in this one by a couple scores. I think this Bears team, they're 5-3, but I don't think they're as good as the record shows. I haven't been impressed with them all year long. Washington and the Giants. I'm going to take Washington. The Giants. Actually, you know what? I'm going to correct myself on that. The Giants, they're 1-7, but they've been competitive in almost every single game this season. I like the Giants in this one at 1-7. Actually, I guess we can kind of say that it's not unrealistic to think the Giants could win the division right now because all those teams in that division are so bad. All have losing records. I think the Giants are going to win that game. I like what first-year head coach Joe Judge is doing there. Raiders and Chargers. I'll take the Raiders in this one. I think the Chargers are going to start falling apart here after all those tough late-game collapses. I think that takes a toll on a team. I can see them showing up tomorrow and getting blown out by a pretty good Raiders team, who, by the way, got fined a ridiculous amount for breaking COVID protocols. Pretty embarrassing, if you ask me, for John Gruden there. But let's take a look at the Dolphins and the Cardinals. I'm going to take the Cardinals in this one. Although the Dolphins are playing good football this season, I like what Kyler Murray and company is doing there in Arizona. Steelers and Cowboys. The Cowboys are just a complete disaster. I would not be surprised at one bit if they decided to move on from Mike McCarthy after one season. He has just been awful. Awful there. I like the Steelers keep their undefeated season going there. Make it 8-0. I like what they have on offense. James Conner at running back. Ben Roethlisberger playing pretty good football as well. Chase Claypool, their rookie receiver, he's awesome. Great fantasy pickup. Juju Smith, obviously still a threat at wide receiver, but they just have so many weapons in that offense, and their defense is unbelievable. I like the Steelers there. Saints and Buccaneers. I like the Saints again in this one. I think they're playing better football, and they started the season a little slow, but I like the Saints and the taking down the Buccaneers and probably winning a division title tomorrow. Quite honestly, that's a Sunday night game. Patriots and Jets. I'm going to give the Jets a win here. I think it would be so funny to see the Jets at 0-8 get their first win of the year against a Patriots team that just isn't one of those classic Belichick teams anymore. They don't scare anybody. There's nothing scary about the New England Patriots anymore. I think the Jets will get their first win of the year on Monday Night Football against the New England Patriots. So let's take a look at my fantasy lineup. I hope some of you guys listening have some of the same players, or else this advice is silly to give. But let's take a look at my lineups. I haven't set my lineups yet, so we'll do that while we're talking here. I am up pretty big in one of my leagues because I had Aaron Rodgers at quarterback and Devontae Adams at wide receiver. So that's pretty set in stone there. But the rest of the lineup, I'm going to have to make a couple changes this week because I have some guys hitting their bye weeks. So at running back, I have Alvin Kamara. He's always a valuable start because even if he's not running the ball much, he's always involved in New Orleans' pass game. I like him to start at running back 1 every week. Doesn't matter who he's playing. Mike Evans, New Orleans defense, they're okay, but I can see Mike Evans having a pretty good game. He had 16 for me last week. He's been pretty consistent when he's been healthy this season. Calvin Ridley's been awesome for me. I'm going to start him at wide receiver. I'm going to have to go pick up another tight end. Jimmy Graham with the Bears. Actually, I might keep him in the lineup this week. Tennessee's defense isn't great. So I might keep Graham there for one more week, give another shot. DJ Moore is finally starting to come through for me with Carolina. He had a slow start to the season, but he's finally starting to put together some good performances. I like him a lot at the flex. The Bears' defense, they could have a tough game tomorrow against the Titans, but the defense really isn't that important when in fantasy for me. I've had so much trouble with defenses this year. I've started a million different defenses, and I've never been able to get any points out of it. So Chicago's been fairly decent for me. Steven Gostkowski at kicker. He's been hit or miss this season. He can be frustrating with some of his misses, but I trust him more often than not. Who am I going to start at running back that Kareem Hunt is on a bye week? I'm going to go with the rookie in Baltimore, former Wisconsin Badger, Jonathan Taylor, of course. I'm going to go with him. I think he'll be pretty good. I actually might. It's funny. I picked up Antonio Brown off of waivers, so I could actually start him or Claypool this week as well. I might have to take a look at this. DJ Moore might be bumped down. I might have to maybe sit Ridley as well because both of those defenses are pretty good. Denver's defense is pretty good, and Kansas City's defense might be able to stop Moore. So I might start Antonio Brown and Claypool tomorrow instead of those guys. Quarterback, of course, Aaron Rodgers. A couple more options on my bench would be Mark Ingram. I have Ryan Tannehill as well, but I've already started a quarterback for the week. Yeah, that's what my fantasy lineup is going to look like. Might make some changes there. I think Claypool would be a good start because Dallas's defense is brutal and can't stop a nosebleed. My other team that I have going with a couple of my buddies from home out there in Grafton, Wisconsin. This is a 12-15 team league, so the talent in the draft kind of dries up pretty quickly because there's so many guys picking. But I ended up with a pretty good team. Been happy with it. I'm kind of in the middle of the pack with it in terms of standings. Josh Allen is my quarterback this week. Delvin Cook, he's been great when he's been able to stay healthy and on the field. Ronald Jones at running back. I might have to find somebody else to be a running back because the Buccaneers kind of benched Ronald Jones last week. That was kind of concerning. I don't really have any other options on my bench for running back, so I'll have to take a look at the market and see what's out there. There usually isn't much in this league of this size. Stephon Diggs as well, A.J. Brown at wide receiver, Mike Gesicki at tight end, Adam Thielen at the flex. Pretty good, solid core of receivers there. I might decide to make another change at tight end. Gesicki was good to start off the year, but Jonnu Smith has been pretty good as well on my bench. And Gesicki's been slowing down lately. I'll have to figure out what to do at defense. Like I said, this is a league where I've started a million different defenses. Tennessee's defense, I have them in a set right now, but I think I don't know. I haven't been favored with them this year. And Chris Boswell at kicker is pretty consistent. So yeah, that's what my lineup looks like there. And that might be all we have for you this week on the Mike Hogan Show. I want to thank everybody for tuning in here, and always a pleasure to be on the air. Just a reminder, I've been trying to do these every week. I've been busy with election coverage and stuff like that and different things popping up with school, but I will be back in the area at the end of the month, and I hope to be back in the studio and doing some live shows for you guys out that way. Again, thank you for listening. Always a pleasure. Signing off on the Mike Hogan Show, Mike Hogan.